All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the live well this Thursday night. Hope all of you guys are doing good and had a good day. And we're so glad you guys could join us. And again, if you're watching at a later date, hey, we love you too. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button and that notification bell and all the things that the cool kids do because it does help out the channel. So appreciate everybody joining us. And you see up there in the top right hand corner, I got Mr. Tim McGuire in the house with me in all his beauty. Down in the lower corner right there, we got Father Time himself. He's just happy to be here and that the electronics he owns is actually working and that he could join us.
Don't get me started, Danny.
He's ill, boys. He's ill. He's ready. He's fit to be tied with technology. And of course, down here we got our guest tonight, Jason Muhlbauer, and he was on with me earlier this week. Um, hey, Kevin, you joined again. Just letting you know. Quit pressing buttons.
Well, I'm getting off and going to my computer. I got it up.
Okay, there we go.
He'll be back in a minute.
He'll be back in a minute. I got to kick one off. Sorry, guys. Got to kick one off and then bring him back in on the right one now. See if he's better. Let's see.
Oh,
Kevin.
there I was.
Okay, now we got you.
No better. Hallelujah.
Are you good now? All right. So now let me go back to my guest. Sorry about that, but Jason was on with me Monday, right?
I think it was Tuesday.
Tuesday. That's right. Man, the week just goes crazy. So he was on. He is the owner operator of the fish school. A lot of guys really love that. Him joining me for that lunch break. Had a lot of great answers to a lot of questions you guys had, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's bring him back, give him some prime time, and he was nice enough to join us again. Father Time is figuring it out on the fly. What's up, everybody out there in the comment section? I'm glad you guys are here. So, anyway, Jason was just talking, and he spent a little time today on Carter's Lake, which that is in and of itself a different world, of course. But we can talk a little Carter's Lake. We're going to talk tonight a little bit about Allatoona because I've always told you guys it's very hard to get guys to talk about Allatoona. So, any questions you got on Allatoona? Also, too, the fact that you're a meteorologist, right?
Correct.
So, really want to dive into how the weather kind of affects bass and patterning bass and everything. So, you guys in the comment section definitely bring your questions for Jason. But anyway, I know we were talking about it, but you were on Carter's today. What was you seeing on Carter's?
Yeah, so it's been a minute since I've been on Carter's. I had what I thought was going to be a full day, which turned out not to be a full day. But when I got out there, I checked a couple creeks, and compared to Allatoona, the bait is still just so deep. I was marking bait in some areas, even still down into like 70 feet deep, which for Carter's is I guess normal, but I was still just a little bit surprised, but I caught some good ones today. Really deep. Just I didn't have as much time to fish as I really wanted to.
Yeah, I don't think none of us ever do. Um, you were talking about seeing bait. Carter's is notorious for being so deep, clear
Hmm.
deep reservoir, and you were talking about marking bait 70, 80 feet or something like that,
Hmm.
which is crazy to a lot of people, but that's North Georgia on some
Right.
of these things. That's what a lot of guys are seeing. So I'm gonna start you out though with an Allatoona question because I'm being selfish right here. All right, this is the time of year where we start seeing big largemouth show up on Allatoona in all our social media and everything. Some really big largemouth. If you were going out tomorrow and that was your primary target, big largemouth shallow on Lake Allatoona, what would you be using? Where would you be trying to locate them? Give us the juice.
So if I was going out tomorrow, especially with it being really warm today, we're going to have a relatively warm night and warm again tomorrow. I would go shallow. I don't think you necessarily have to look for muddy water, but if it were me, I'd be looking for pockets that still have some trees in them with a little bit of depth in the back, and maybe even fishing a buzz bait or a wake bait. My personal best largemouth from Allatoona was caught on a wake bait, and I think the water temp at the time was like 52, 53 degrees. We're maybe actually beyond that, but I'd go shallow. I would fish around the trees in the pockets that have some deep water still towards the back of them, or I'd go to one of the extreme ends of the lake and I'd have a square bill and a chatterbait and a kind of single Colorado spinnerbait.
Okay, that makes sense. King of Bass has a question for you. Kind of similar to what I was asking, but a little bit different. If you were fishing tomorrow on Allatoona, where and what would you concentrate on? What area of the lake?
So during the pre-spawn, most of the spotted bass, they're still feeding up. They're in feed mode. They're chasing bait. And I use my side scan mostly to just figure out where I need to stop and fish. I don't go out with a specific, spot or two on my mind. I may go with, a creek or two on my mind and say, all right, I'm going to start graphing at this particular area. And I'm going to mark where I start to see bait. I'm going to mark where the bait ends. And I'm going to concentrate on that section. So I would start in the creek arms and just start at the mouth and work your way back and just get an idea of how far back that bait is. And I would not stop unless I have a real reason to. I don't want to see like a few shad here, a few shad there. I want to see them like my whole screen light up. I want to see the mother load, and when I see that, then it's worth stopping. And I will pursue that all day. I'd rather strike out and know that I was looking for the right thing for the chance to catch 50 or more fish rather than piddling around for a fish here, fish there on a warm March day like we'd have tomorrow.
Yeah, I got you. This is something we always talk about with Allatoona. Why do you think the average fish is so small on Allatoona compared to other lakes in the state?
I think it's definitely getting better. That's for sure. It used to be real small. I think Danny, we were talking Tuesday. I think I mentioned like, if you had 10 pounds, 5, 8 years ago, you were showing up to weigh in pretty confident. Now you can throw that out the window. So I don't know if it is, the bait fish or the, size of the lake. I'm not really sure what the cause is. I would imagine it's a mix of kind of both of those things.
And on that, I know Lake Lanier has a 14-inch length limit. Allatoona has a 12-inch.
Mhm.
Do you think Allatoona could benefit from having a 14-inch, or do you think it's fine the way it is?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm the right one to ask that question. I'm not sure. I really don't know. I don't think it could hurt, but I still think Allatoona is very different than Lanier, so it may not respond, the same way. Lanier so big, so many different options, different bait fish, so it might, but I can't say for certain.
What do you guys
Danny,
think? Yeah.
Danny, I think it's the structure on the bottom of the lake compared to Lanier, as well as the number of docks that are on Lanier that provide structure and shade and ambush points. You know, Allatoona doesn't have that many docks, and everything's cut down to the bottom, so it's only rock
Yeah,
and
you got
brush
rock
piles.
and mud.
Mhm.
So you're saying you think that's the reason why the fish are not as big?
I just don't think that. Well, I think they're going to get bigger, and we're seeing that over the last couple of years with the introduction of herring. But at the same time, nothing on the bottom but rock and the brush piles that people have planted. That's all they had to go to.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
Um, all you guys can answer this question because I do not know, but we'll start off with you, Jason. What colors work best on Allatoona?
So I guess it depends on what bait. I mean, I keep my colors pretty simple. So if I'm throwing a worm or a jig, I'm going some variation of green pumpkin. If I'm throwing a swim bait, it's going to be some sort of bait fish color. I try not to overcomplicate it. Maybe if it's sunny, I'll kind of go with something that offers a little more flash. And maybe if it's real cloudy or rainy, I'll go with something that's more opaque. Maybe just like a white pearl, something like that. And if it's real muddy, and I'm throwing a jig, sure, we can toss in some black and blue, or say I'm throwing the Picasso shock blade, I may go with the brighter orange color or something like that. But I try to keep it pretty simple with my colors.
Okay, fair enough. What about you, Tim? In your experience, what colors work for you over there?
I usually go with light purple or dark purple, depending on the water.
Yeah, and you
Or
fish for
you can
spot.
cross that over to light green or dark green. Just depends. Like if it's sunny, I'll switch over and throw something light if the water's pretty clear. And if it's overcast, I'll go to a darker color, either purple or green.
All right, Father Time. What about you?
I'm going with green pumpkin green on trick worms, green pumpkin as well as black and blue on the jigs.
Okay. What do you think about this? Ron Swinford says Allatoona is much smaller than Lanier, no standing timber, fewer docks. Those spots just roam so much, hard to get fat running around.
Right.
And he also says the timber in Lanier gives the fish places to hide. So he's basically saying, hey, they can just kind of chill a little bit. They're not having to be so pelagic. Is that the right word that I'm using for? Does that sound right?
Oh no, that's a big word.
Yeah, that's the right word.
Well, I
But
think
I'd
go ahead, Jason.
argue that the fish on Lanier are more pelagic than Allatoona. So I don't know. I'd love to talk to like a fisheries biologist about that question.
So that's the one thing though with forward facing sonar that everybody talks about is, in the old days we thought, okay, here's a point.
Mhm.
The fish are just laying on the point, and that's not true. They're moving continually, and especially if they're herring eaters, because herring do not they don't sit still at all. So you might be right. I don't know. For smarter guys than us to figure out. Tyler Shelnut says, I've caught my biggest spots on Allatoona on a June bug worm on a shaky at 4-pounders years back when I actually fished Allatoona. And then, of course, Tim says you never can go wrong with a June bug.
Great night bait.
Mhm.
Why do you reckon it's such a great night bait, Kevin?
I think it's the silhouette being dark.
Being dark.
Yeah. It's a confidence bait, but that's all I throw at night. June bug.
All
June
right.
bug red.
June bug red. All right, Jason, if you only had one color, we might have talked about this the other day, but if you only had one color for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Probably green pumpkin. Well, I'd even throw a green pumpkin swim bait. Just green pumpkin is just a great all around color.
He brings that up. There's not a lot of guys that throw green pumpkin swim baits. The
No.
companies make them.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Ron says, and of course, he fishes Lake Weiss a lot. So this makes sense to me too. June bug is a great color, especially in muddy water. So,
Definitely.
Hey, Danny,
yeah,
I have a question for Jason. And
throw it
I
out
hope
there.
being a meteorologist, I hope you got some thick skin, but what's it like only being right 50% of the time? I know there's a lot of guys wanting to ask this question.
Yeah, I hear it all the time, and I think really the biggest thing, like with the weather forecast, is that a weather forecast is for an area, but everyone takes that forecast and makes it personal to them, and a weather forecast is never designed to be a personal thing, because how many, what, I forget, what is this, square footage, or what's the acreage of Lanier? Like, it's huge. You could be over an hour distance apart from each other on the same lake, and if the forecast is 50% rain, you may get stuck being in rain all day on the south end, and someone who ran up to Laurel Park is dry all day. And if I say 50% chance of rain, it really means about 5 out of 10 people are going to experience rain. So a forecast could verify and be correct, and then two different people have a completely different experience, and then one of them is yelling that it was wrong, the other is saying, oh, I thought it was going to rain, I didn't know it was going to rain this much. You just go back and forth. But the forecast is for an area, so you have to kind of think of it that way. And I try to tell people, like, we don't know where you're going to be. Even if we did, like, the precision of a forecast is not that refined. It is for an area. So try to, think about it not so personally, I guess.
So quit complaining, old man.
I take it personal. So
All right, well, let me ask you this. How much do you use your skills as a meteorologist, knowing barometric pressures and things like that? How do you relate that to your fishing?
So I don't know that I really relate it to my fishing as much as I try to, just stay safe. I relate it to, am I going to go out there? Am I going to go fish a tournament? Am I going to bring rain gear? So I don't know that it really gives me much of an advantage in terms of, like, can I go out and catch more fish than someone else based on what I know about the weather? But I do know that if I don't go fish a tournament, I firmly believe no one else should be out there too, because I've deemed that it's just not safe, or it's not, the risk reward is just not there. But also, I'm pretty conservative with that approach. Like, I am definitely on the safer side of things. I would rather be safe than sorry. So I don't know that it helps me a ton with my fishing. I may have a better idea what's going on in terms of, is it going to rain all day? Is it going to be scattered? Are we going to have a squall line in the morning and then it's going to clear up? So I may have a little bit of an advantage of how to prepare for the weather itself. But I don't know that it gives me a huge advantage with actually catching fish.
I got you. There you go. Tyler Shelnut wants to know: does the percentage of a forecast mean chance or percentage of area that will receive precipitation? And you kind of touched on that. So go hit that one more time.
Yeah, so the way I think about it, if there's say a 30% chance of rain, I think of it that 3 out of 10 people are likely going to experience rain at some point during the day. Now, the percentage chance of rain from my experience, I think people take that and turn that into like rain intensity. Like, oh, 30% is a light rain. If it rains at all, it's going to be light. 100% chance of rain means it's going to be absolutely pouring, and that's not the case at all. The rain forecast is simply, will it rain, yes or no, and what is the percentage chance, like how many people out of 10 are going to experience a little bit of rain. If it rains for 2 minutes, then a forecast could verify, and that 2 minutes could occur while you're still in bed asleep. You wake up the next day and think, oh, well, they said it was going to rain. These morons don't know what they're talking about. It's like, well, no, that forecast verified, but it maybe didn't rain when you were out there doing the thing that you were, whatever you're doing out on the lake. It just didn't rain on you that day.
Right. There you go. So, but I mean, you guys are pretty good with all the computers. You guys are getting a hell of a lot closer than today than you guys did back when I was young. So I don't fuss too much like that. Ron's got a pretty interesting comment. I think the largemouth on Allatoona are much more territorial than we give them credit for. There are a few places on that lake where year in and year out you catch largies and largemouth only. What do you think about that comment? And has that been your experience on a lake like Allatoona?
So when I go like way, way up into some of these creeks, I mean, I guess there's areas that I catch more largemouth than other areas, but I can't say that I can think of any area off the top of my head that I don't catch spots in. Um, I pretty much catch them interchangeably. Maybe on a given day, I'll catch more largemouth than spotted bass. But for the most part, I'm fishing for spots. Like I try to catch largemouth on occasion. Like this is kind of the prime time in my mind to do that. But a lot of times when I go out, I'm with a kid, or maybe I'm with my dad or a client, and I'm just generally targeting spotted bass. So I try to catch largemouth, but I don't claim to be a largemouth expert by any means.
Right. They're fun when you bump into them for sure.
Right.
Now, Ron Swinford, we're showing our age right here. Danny still remembers Guy Sharp and his once a week right forecast and all that. I do remember Guy Sharp. He it's been a long time ago, but he said it was going to be like partly sunny, and then people blasted him because it snowed the next day. I do remember him coming on the air and all. But I mean, it is what it is. But let me ask you this: what meteorologist does a meteorologist pay attention to? Who are the ones you actually pay attention to?
So any of the ones on our local weather stations, honestly, are good. My favorite, I guess he's been retired for a couple of years now, was Kirk Mellish. He was my favorite. I think he was a WSB. I listened to him on the radio. But any of the local ones have a real good, I think, grasp of some of our more local features. The wedge that we talk about, the kind of cold air damming that can wreck a forecast or wreck your day on Lanier, where it could be 75 degrees in downtown Atlanta and it's like 55 and drizzly and dreary on Lanier. And all the local ones have a good understanding of those events.
Yeah, that's how we kind of got the ice/snow this year. Had that cold air damming. I'm learning some of the terminology, which is for most people called the wedge for sure.
Right.
Now I see that we've got a new name, but yet it's an old viewer right here. Koike God Coleman, because he's spending all his money now on the Koike style baits. But he wants to know, how do you think the moon phase affects fish? And especially like if you're a guide and you got a guide and he's booking a trip on a certain day, have you ever just told him, hey, look, we might not get them really good because the moon is this or that?
I've never told anybody that. Maybe I should, but I've never, anytime I get a chance to go fish, I go fish. If it's not, if if it's safe and I feel like the weather is not an issue, I'm going to go regardless of what the weather is, regardless how windy it is or what the moon phase is. So I would imagine that during a full moon, maybe the fishing is a little bit better. One thing that I thought was interesting back when the Elite Series had like that little fish off thing that they had at Carter's Lake. I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago. I can't remember when that was. I remember them talking about, if you have clear nights with a full moon, that it can be tough fishing the next day because the fish can see so well at night that they can spend all night just feeding up very, very easily. So I always thought that was kind of a very interesting take that I had never heard before. That if you've got a clear night and a full moon, that it may make night fishing better, which could then possibly make the fishing the next day a little bit tougher.
Gotcha. Now, Ron, you are correct. If Jim Cantori or whatever, however you say his name, if he's in town, you're going to have a hurricane or some. I do got one question, and we'll get on to the fishing, but this is a weather related question. Why do we name winter storms and stuff now? Why? I mean, I got it growing up with a hurricane and all that, but it's now like it's, every time we get a really storm or a big cold
Just
front.
the Weather Channel that does that. It's just the Weather Channel that does
Okay.
that. And I remember, I don't remember if it was the Weather Channel that asked, maybe someone in the other, weather community that I know asked, but I remember the question came up, like, is it a good idea to name a winter storm? And there was kind of mixed results to that. I don't know if it's good or bad, but it's just something that the Weather Channel does. It's not something that the Weather Service is doing. But I guess the bigger blizzards and things, they all ended up with a name somehow, some way, like Snowmageddon or
Yeah.
the what was it, 1993? I forget, we called it some name, that big blizzard we had in the early 90s.
Yeah, I forget the name we had for it. I remember that one though. That is for sure. You don't forget those.
Right.
Bottom Line Outdoors wants to know, when looking at the weather, what model is more accurate? Is it the GFS? Is it the Euro? Do they have their own particular strengths?
Generally, I think the Euro is a little bit better, but also there's different types of models that we have short term, medium term, long term models. And part of the challenge with weather forecasting is that the long term models are not very precise. Meaning, if I look, when I remember when I was looking at the ice event that we had a couple weeks ago, we had or months, whenever that was, we had a really good grasp that, hey, there's going to be an ice event. It's going to, we can tell 5 days ahead that there's going to be something there, but it's not granular enough for us to decide like any sort of boundary of like where this is going to start, where the ice is going to end. And it's not until we get, a day or two up into the event that like the short term models kick in and you get these really, really high resolution, like clear images where you could actually put it on a map and say like, oh, here's where I live. I can see this, the boundary of the pink ice and the green rain. You just like, imagine a map for the whole United States, and you're trying to take that map and apply it to just Georgia. It's hard to like refine it really that well. So the long-term models, I'd say the Euro is the best. The American GFS is certainly good, and they both have their their value with these models. If you can get both of those models to agree on something, you basically get two good data points. Where if one is out to lunch, as we say, and the other is seeming more reasonable, like you kind of use them hand in hand. So the Euro is probably better, but you certainly don't want to use just one for any determination.
I got you. You didn't know we were going to talk about weather so much. Guys have questions out here, which this is a very good one. I have my theories on this, but I'll let you answer it and get in trouble instead of me. Why are most storms named after women?
I don't know. I guess they come out with a list. I think the Weather Service comes out with their list every year, but so they, for hurricanes, for example, like they tell you, here's all the names.
Yeah.
So if it ends up just being women, then I guess it just happens to be that way.
But it's never, we don't see no Hurricane Fred. right? You don't see Hurricane Steve or Fred. It's always some.
It's very rare that they have a male name. Yeah.
We had Hurricane Andrew and Michael, and I mean, I
I
think some
guess
of the more memorable ones are just women. I think it just biases us a little bit, but
the ones that tear everything up are named after the women. That's what it
No
is.
fury like a woman.
And that is not the official position of the Live Well podcast. We love you women too out there. So
That's not what you said.
Insert disclaimer.
yeah, but Doc says this too. Now this is another term that I've just started hearing over the last year or two. Why does a big rain now have to be called an atmospheric river? It's just going to rain a lot. And I know he's been making a generalization, but that is another term. We're hearing more and more of these type of terms when we get forecasts now, like the polar vortex and stuff like that. I mean, 10 years ago, it's just like, guys, it's going to get cold as hell.
yeah.
But now we got a polar vortex coming in. That is kind of a new thing.
So a lot of these terms have been around since like the 1930s and 40s. So you can look at, I think it's the American Meteorological Society's like definitions and bulletins, and they go back a long, long time. But certain media outlets will pick a word and say, let's throw this into our content. And then it's like, oh, all these weather people are just trying to hype this up. Like that's been around for 100 years. I didn't know that, Larry, the weather guy, was going to pull this out and just start screaming about a polar vortex.
Right.
A lot of the terms are truly just really, really old terms. Atmospheric river is just really when the jet stream is kind of like perfectly lining up with a lot of moisture, and it literally is just funneling tons and tons of moisture over one particular area. So it's an old term, but maybe it's just now kind of getting out into the public.
Okay. I listen. I'm loving it. Everybody's learning a little bit right here. Now let's get a couple more weather questions, at least for like what's going to happen, and then we'll get into the fishing and other stuff. But we do have some rain coming in. There is a chance of some thunderstorms. What's the severe weather outlook for this weekend? We have a squall line possibly coming through at some point?
That's a great question. I've got a trip tomorrow afternoon, so I need to know the answer to that. I have not had a chance to look. I heard there's some chance of storms tomorrow, but I really have not had time to look. Like I really depend on the local meteorologists and a group chat that I've been in since 2006 with my weather buddies. They are actual employed meteorologists where I've just kind of got my degree and then did other things. So I depend on a lot of other folks for my forecast, but I need to figure it out. Cause again, going back to my rule, is it safe for me to be out there or not? I'll got to figure it out for tomorrow.
Watch the news, get people. Watch the news. All right. We do have a fishing related question. Nico rig question. Insert the hook facing down or up from the weight / top.
I always have mine facing up. Always. Like if I have that weight standing on the bottom, my hook is facing up, just like a drop shot. I've seen some other people do it different ways and never quite understood why they did it that way. I've never had a problem with hookup ratio or missing fish. So I've always had mine facing up, like upright, just like a drop shot.
What about you, Tim? Up.
Sorry. I've been sick all week.
Yes, I had to tease him. Now, Kevin, do you throw a Nico at all?
I throw a Nico, and it's face up. And I've been looking at the Corkies a lot, seeing what videos, because I'm going to start throwing that a little bit. But I'm going to have it hooked face up, but sideways on the top. So you've got your weight in the bottom.
Yeah.
And instead of hooking it, when the hook comes up, standing up, I'm going to hook it sideways. So the entire round bend of the hook is exposed. It's going to be, the corky is going to be slid up on the shank of the hook.
We're going to need a demonstration video on that for
let's see.
Okay. He's probably got one right there. Jason, the urchin style baits, koikis, things of that nature. Do you throw them?
So I haven't had a chance to buy any. When I was at the NOE Expo a couple weeks ago, I was, my booth was right next to my friends at the dugout. They had a whole wall of them, and I just didn't think, hey, you should walk over there and grab a couple. I haven't really bought any. I need to because I just hear all the awesome things about them. But
Okay,
I've thrown the
okay,
dice, but not the Koike like big one.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
my wife bought one just because she thought it looked cool.
that's the way it works. All right, Kevin. First of all, it's Koike. Look, hold on. Look at me, sir. Look at me, Kevin. Say Koike. Koike.
You say it the way you want to, and I'll say it the way I want to.
But you said Corky, and that is Tony brought that up. That's a movie from the '90s, and it's one of the movies you don't watch in front of your grandkids. So you said
My
Corky.
grandkids.
All right, hold it up. All right, move it to your right. Right
Mother
there.
right?
Okay, yeah, we see that now. So,
See it
but
now?
I do. But how is that holding your hook that way? How is that going to affect the movement?
Why would it affect the movement? I'm gonna be working it like a jerk bait in a way. Keep it moving. Pause, jerk.
Okay. All right, you saw that, Jason. You saw his the
Hmm.
great diagram that we have here. We don't have like a real like they do on football where he can draw on the screen or anything. We're drawing on pieces of paper. What do you think
Interesting
about
concept.
it? Is an interesting concept. You said you worked some dice baits, which basically similar kind of stuff. How did you work them?
I had it on so I had the Z-Man one, and I was just throwing it on a drop shot. I caught a couple fish, and this was like this past fall, and then it got really cold, and I just moved on to other things. So I've caught maybe 6 fish on them. I just hooked it on a regular like size 2 drop shot hook.
Gotcha. And guys, you are right in the comment section. That is Porky's. Corky is a dog. Porky's was the movie that I was thinking about. Um, yeah, you still don't want to watch that too. Let's see. Okay. I've been throwing the chicken rig, aka the weedless Nico. It's been doing pretty good. I can throw in some pretty gnarly stuff, and I haven't gotten hung up yet. Tracy Coker. And that's one that Dave Aldridge showed me.
Yep.
And specifically, he uses that for grass.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Tim, when we were out there, that's more of a grass thing, but I have found that it works really good around rocks and things of that nature too. Now, speaking of, we talked about Allatoona being absolutely barren on the bottom, pretty much compared to Lanier. Everything's chopped down, so you're either mud or rock over there. When you're out fishing with a client or just fun fishing out there, what kind of features are you just going to like rocky points? Are you looking more for humps and all that? Right now, what are you concentrating on?
So right now I'm really just trying to find bait. So I'm going to start in a creek and I guess sometimes like this time of year you can still catch them on the main lake, but I think it's easier to kind of find, at least for me, to find them in a creek. So I'm not looking so much for specific features. I'm graphing around looking for bait, and then if I can find an area with bait, then I guess the only feature I'm really going to look for is, are there like coves or pockets nearby where that bait has gotten pushed back into? Because I tell people on every trip, I want to catch fish off the shallowest bait possible. If we mark bait in 70 feet, great. We're going to keep moving until we hopefully find bait in 20, hopefully 10. If we could find it in 5 feet, even better. So I'm really just kind of bait fish oriented. And then from there, what other features nearby are, things that I'll look at. So if there's a point, a bluff, a hump, etc. But a lot of times these bait fish are just roaming around. It seems like it's not really related to anything. I don't know if it is or not, but they just seem to roam around aimlessly at times, and that is really the biggest feature that I'm looking for.
Okay. All right. So I shouldn't have made fun of Father Time because it's a corgi is the dog, not a corky. I've been corrected in the comment section over there as well. And Porky's is the movie. All right. Free rigs. Kendra wants to know, do any of you guys throw a free rig? I wonder if you could throw one of those corkies on them. So do any of you three mess with the free rig at all? I know exactly what she's talking about.
I do too.
I haven't thrown it. I bet you could throw a koi key on it for sure.
I imagine if you use the ones that are kind of elastics that are going to float on a free rig, that'd probably work pretty good, really.
Yeah.
How do you reckon one of the Yamamotos and all that? They're not Elastec, right?
I mean, it'd probably work, but buoyancy wise, you'd want it to kind of float up when it came around, I would guess.
That makes sense. Do you throw a free rig on anything? Any of you guys even just mess with a free rig? I don't throw it very often.
I haven't thrown it.
I think it'd get hung up in the rocks usually.
It's just another rod on the deck.
Is that what it is? Just that sounds like a country song. All right. What section of Allatoona is your favorite?
If I had to pick, one creek, I probably fish McCaskey the most. I don't know if it's because it's my favorite. I just usually launch out of Gatewood and it's right there. So when I'm out with a client and our goal is to catch fish, I try to do as little driving around as possible. Now, the other day we launched and I feel like I drove around the entire lake looking for certain things. So it does happen where I do drive a lot, but if there's fish in McCaskey and it's close, I'll fish there. But they're all great. I don't have one that I just don't, fish. I go all over the lake and really look for bait. And then different times of the year, in the spawn, for example, like, maybe one creek has dirtier water, maybe one is a little bit cleaner. So I don't really pick a favorite creek. My favorite is the fish, and I'm trying to chase them. And then wherever creek, I find them in is my favorite that day.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, Comfort Zone Outdoors says, "What's up, fellas? Going to Lanier in the morning to see if I can get on them crappie for sure. It's that time of year. Do you mess with crappie at all, or crappie as everybody
I
outside says?
I don't. I'd have a couple buddies that crappie fish all the time, and I'm like, you got to teach me. Like I've caught them. I can't go out and just target them like they do. I see these guys catching them from these marina docks. I'm like, someone please invite me because that looks like a blast,
Oh, yeah.
and that looks like a 100-quart cooler full of fish. So I know they're not going out catching one or two. Like it seems like they're catching one every cast.
Yeah, and Allatoona has some big crappie in it.
There are
Uh,
some big ones.
yeah, they are. Let's see. Okay, so Tyler's thinking about uh, jumping into the guide game. He's a young guy. He wants to know what is a good way to build a client base starting out new. So if you could give someone an advice for starting a guide service or anything, and I guess this would apply to anything, any service oriented business. What's a good way to start building a client base?
So I'll tell you what I did. I'm pretty early on in this process, so take it for what it's worth. I, started. I think I got my commercial guide insurance in place December 12th and ran my first trip December 13th. So I hit the ground running. With the Noe Outdoor Expo, I thought, all right, let me see if I could get people to sign up for an email list. And with that email list, what I'll offer them is a free like half day trip giveaway. Like you get entered into a free half day trip raffle. And on top of that, I'm going to do a monthly fishing report. And for the email list folks, they're going to get it, a week before it gets posted to any other websites or social media, etc. So that was my way of trying to start building a client base. But you kind of really have to say, all right, what can I do that's valuable? Like what value can I offer someone? And if you can find something valuable, like in my opinion, the free trip giveaway or the fishing reports a bit early, then for kind of I'll give you that in exchange for your contact info and the promise that I'm not going to pester you every day
Right.
with spams. That's what I've done.
I get that. And that is the email thing is something that they push in a lot of different businesses. I have books that, talk about things like that for sure. So yeah, but you basically, Tyler, you got to figure out a way to be service oriented to the people too. Cause even once you get a client, you want that client to word of mouth, to be a repeat customer and everything. Um, but he also says what all is needed to guide and be covered and have everything in order. So are there any particular insurances that you might need? I do know that Georgia is not one that requires a captain's license, right?
Correct. I think I think it's considered like it needs to be considered navigable waters or something like that, where essentially barge traffic or something would be coming through that triggers the need for a captain's license. So like Tennessee River, I believe you would need that captain's license, but I don't believe you need it for, Carter's, Allatoona, Lanier, probably a bunch of others, but there are very specific insurance requirements that you need, and it's not cheap.
Yeah.
So
jumping on that, and I'm gonna get back to your question. Bottom line outdoors. Tracy Coker said he heard today that guides are going to have to start having $1 million insurance coverage. I guess that's a general liability policy.
Yes, and 1 million is, I think, what I've got.
Okay. Well, I mean, and it makes sense. I get that. So it would be smart, Tony says, for
Mhm.
sure. All right. Bottom line outdoors fishing question. Have you ever noticed that bass behavior changes due to low and high pressure conditions, or does it matter? And I know, I guess that was kind of what I was thinking when I asked you that question, but it does make sense. You're just looking at it to be safe or not. But in your experience, and Tim and Kevin, you can answer this as well. High pressure versus low pressure and the way bass behave.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when those fronts are approaching, even when it's raining, some of the best days of fishing I've had have been in the pouring rain. We all know what it's like. You have a tournament you've been waiting for a month, and then it's 75 degrees the day before, and then it's you get out there and it's 40 degrees and it's blowing and fishing is terrible, and that pressure is really high. So I absolutely think it does impact them. Low pressure certainly seems to have them a lot more fired up than after that front moves through.
What's your guys' take on that?
I'm the
I think
same way. I, I'm the same way. Low pressure, I think they're feeding up, knowing that a storm's coming. And high pressure, you're just going to have to beat the docks and beat anything that has structure because they're going to move up tight to it.
yeah, it kind of places them in the water column too. The higher the pressure, it seems the lower you'll find them.
Okay. Well, do you think that's as a result of like the bait fish do the same thing as well?
I think it's their air bladder and the bait fish.
Okay, all right, that's fair enough. I'm not a biologist. I don't know. You guys are the experts, so that's why I'm relying on you guys.
We're
But
making this up as we go, Danny.
we do every show that way. I mean, seriously, people think we're resources, right?
It's
How
It's
about
called the fish school, but I'm in kindergarten, so it's it,
well,
I I'll tell you what I know, and if I don't know, I'm not going to BS you. I'm going to tell you I don't know.
well, I mean, to be honest, if you're a true angler, you never stop learning.
Right.
Hmm.
There's always something to learn. So, new technique or somewhere refining an old technique. There's always something to learn, and somebody's always there to do that first. And you can learn from anybody for sure. Do you ever fish tournaments or do you just guide? I know most guides stay away from tournaments. Why do you think that is?
So I,
I
I love tournament and fishing. I have been trying to fish these. I always mess up the abbreviation. Allatoona, the AB. It's not
ABA.
ABA. It's not ABA. There's a new Allatoona kind of bass trail that popped up, and I've been meaning to try to fish a few of them. But what happens is someone inevitably asks for a trip that day. Weekend days are a premium in the guide business, so I just haven't had the chance to fish a tournament. But I love tournament fishing. I just love to compete and kind of just see how I stack up against everybody else on that particular day. If a guy doesn't fish a bunch of tournaments, it may just be for some personal reasons, but I suspect it's more likely that they just have a trip booked is probably the reality of it.
That's a
I
guaranteed check.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, you're right. I do feel though that some guides, at least in our area, in the back of their mind are afraid of like if you're having poor tournament results
Mm-hmm.
that it shows on you as a guide. I don't think that to be true, but I do think I have heard people talk about that. Allatoona Bass Fishing Trail. So that's what a lot of them
ABFT.
the
Yeah.
Yeah.
ABFT and
Yeah.
all that. I did have a viewer ask me today, and he said he was going to listen to this tomorrow. Is there a good trail on Allatoona for a newbie, for a guy that's just started fishing, but he wants to experience the tournament trail? Because I mean, every lake has that trail where the hammers come out, right? The sticks are going to fish in that. Do you know of any on Allatoona, Tim, or any of you guys? This viewer in particular, he said he's nervous. He's never done it. He just wants to get his feet wet.
There are several that like run evening trails or weekend trails out of Gatewood and stuff. I can't remember what they're called, but I mean, you see people in small aluminum boats all the way up to big tournament rigs. I mean, they would welcome. I'm not
Porco's
sure.
goes out of Gatewood, doesn't he?
Who?
That
Porco's.
Porco's.
Yeah, he
Porco's
goes
goes
out of
out of
Gate.
Gatewood.
Tim's right. There's tournaments every night, Monday through Thursday that I know of, or think I know of, and there's hammers in every one of them.
Yeah,
So
Kevin fishes with those Monday night hammers. Trust me.
I'm still learning.
you say if any of you guys on Allatoona know of a contact or something that I can pass along to this gentleman, shoot me a messenger, and I will pass that on. He mentioned it. It was kind of based upon some of the conversation that we had today on the lunch break, where we were talking about some of the higher end tournament trails and stuff. And he's like, he doesn't want to fish those. A little bit of an intimidation factor for sure, being new to it, but he wants to try to get his feet wet on that. Tim, just want to make sure you're awake. You got any questions that have been popping in your mind? I wanted to give you a chance. You or Kevin?
I got one. Well, what do you think about red baits this time of year? There's that big allure. Everybody throws red this time of year. You a believer, non-believer, or
So I went out this past Sunday with a client. We were throwing red shock blades, and we were catching fish. I kind of will match my bait to the watercolor at times, similar to why people throw June bug at night or black at night. In the clear water, I'll throw some clear colors. But when the water's orange, I throw a lot of red, orange, even black baits. So yeah, I'm certainly a believer in red, but more than anything, I think that the important part is being around fish that are willing to eat. Because I would argue that if they're going to eat a red chatterbait, and I made that same cast, they probably would have eaten a white one or a white and chartreuse. That's just
that's kind of my take on it. It's like if they're in a feeding mood, they're going to eat.
But if you saw that Emil's post today, he took fifth on a red crankbait.
Right. He did.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, Donna Gray says, watch the ABFT weigh-ins at noon on Sundays. It's a great group of guys. So I'll pass that on as well. Appreciate the comment right there. Was it you and I had this conversation, Jason, on Tuesday about the color red, or was that another guest?
We were talking about it a little bit.
Yeah. Because Kendra says right here, red works spring and fall for me, specifically cranks, but there was someone put out a video about we overthink red. It might have been Brian Latimer. Somebody did that I watched, and we pull it out in the late winter, early spring, and it just year after year after year. But then a lot of guys put the color red up right after the spawn, and they don't throw red until we get back to that timetable again.
Right.
And they were talking about how we're missing a lot, thinking that red is just a pre-spawn color. So there wasn't a question with that. I just remember somebody was saying that.
Danny, they do
what?
that with rattle traps too.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. They pull them out in the wintertime, and after
You're right.
When summer gets here, they put them up.
Yeah, everybody goes trapping during the winter, and then they'll put them up during the summer.
Doesn't matter what color.
I got you. Okay, so it was Brian Latimer that put that. I did see that. B-Lat put that out right there. Tracy Coker said, color. What do you think about this, Jason? Color is more about what you have confidence in, I think.
100%. I will, tell people that come out on a trip with me, like, here's what I think. But if we're in a tournament situation, and a lot of times on my guide trips, I'm trying to prepare, these middle schoolers and high schoolers, or just regular anglers. Like, I'm trying to prepare them and have them think through like a tournament thought process. So I tell them, here's what I would do. But if you are not at the point where you could do this with confidence, let's keep working on some other things, because I could tell you coordinates, I could tell you colors, I could tell you depths, I could lead you to exactly what I would be doing potentially to win a tournament. And if you just don't have confidence in it, it's not going to pan out. So I think confidence is the most important thing that you could have. And I think it's more important than any particular color.
Yeah. Now, Titus does bring up a good point. I believe they're going to eat. They will eat any color that relates to the forage for sure. That I agree with. Clayton says red will work for another month. And that's kind of like the rule of thumb for most people on the color red, but they, it was BLAT, and I have heard other people say you can throw a red crankbait in August if you want to, or red baits. None of us are going to do it because I have no confidence in red at that time of year for
For
sure.
me, it's watercolor. Well, what's the watercolor? If I go to Weiss in August and it's dirty, I'd throw red. I have no problem throwing red. But what happens for me is on Allatoona and Carter's to some degree, the springtime is often when the water is the dirtiest. And then once we get into the summer, it is crystal clear. I'm not throwing red because I'm throwing some little translucent minnow color. So
Right.
for me, more so than the time of year, it's the watercolor, but there's a correlation between the time of year and that watercolor.
So I'm watching. I'm sitting here. I'm reading the comments and everything. Titus talked about junk fishing on tuna, and then they're talking about like you can catch them one way one day the next. They're just different ways. It's kind of seems like it's all over the place in people's thoughts on Allatoona. Junk fishing. What would you consider junk fishing, Jason?
What I do, if you watch any of my YouTube videos, you'll notice I've got 8,000 rods on my deck, and in the like where the co-angler sits. I usually, if I'm out by myself, have rods over there too. I love junk fishing because I just love catching them on different baits and cycling through a lot of different things. Because for me, it's all a learning process. Every particular day in Altoona, I've got the opportunity to do a whole bunch of different things. I could go fish for largemouth. I could fish for spots. I could fish shallow, deep, clear, muddy. So how I approach fishing is very junk fishing related. I don't go out with one or two rods on my deck. I go out with a bunch of options, and I just kind of want to see what I run into in any particular part of that lake.
I think it's fun and a good learning experience to do that because I mean, if you can go out and catch fish 5 different ways, and then you kind of realize, hey, this way was working a little bit better than the other. It starts, it's a good learning curve.
Yeah, for sure. Now Ken says, study the molting phases of a crawdad and then think about the color red for sure. And I think that's what a lot of people related
Mhm.
to. Bottom line outdoors, he says, I'm in Texas. When the crawfish and the bluegill change color, I will change color. Uh, okay, makes sense. We sometimes can overthink color, but it does play a role. And I think the confidence thing, though, the point that you're making with the confidence does weigh into it a lot. Because like I'm going to throw a green pumpkin Cinco 90% of the time because that's the one color I feel like I can catch bass on in all 50 states. Wherever I'm going, that one color would do it. Wonk wants to know, would you fish Sunday? 60% chance of rain.
So probably, if it's not like even thunderstorms are okay to some degree. I'm not gonna go out if it's crazy, but yeah, I'll fish in 100% chance of rain. I don't care. I've got rain gear and I've got a bilge pump. We're good to go.
I pull up the local radar and just kind of watch and see what the radar is telling you is coming at you. It's
Yeah,
pretty
Yeah.
easy.
that is the better tool. I use Radar Scope for $10
Mhm.
a year. You get the professional one, and it is crystal clear. And rather than worrying about what my weather app, that is free by the way, what that is saying in terms of a percentage chance of rain, I just look at the radar. What is actually happening? What is coming, and where am I? And that's what I use.
It's just interesting comment right here from Patricia Leanne Shaw 592. Never seen a red bladed buzzbait. I actually have. I
Mhm.
have seen a red. I've never thrown one. You guys ever seen a red one yourself? And if you have you ever
Yes.
thrown
I
one?
don't think so.
Okay, Kevin,
Yes.
did you throw it?
I didn't buy it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen them. I've never fished with one.
The
I'm not
Picasso catalog has got them in there. I was looking at them the other
I
day.
was going to say, I thought I saw them at Cabela's today.
okay. All right, there you
By the
go.
way, they got a hell of a sale going on.
Cabela's does?
Bass Pro and Cabela's. Yes.
What kind of
Don't
sale?
just don't just look at the flyer. You got to go there. There's a ton of stuff on sale.
Okay, there you go.
Getting rid of some overstock, probably.
That might be. Jerry Catula. Junk fishing allows you to learn what lures work on the body of water, certain conditions, et cetera, et cetera. I agree with that. And that's kind of like what you guys were saying right there. Um, I'm just trying to go. And guys, we're going to have our question of the night here in about 3 minutes. So get ready for that one. Nobody answered it last week. Titus wants to know, have you had any luck on topwater?
Yes, I
Okay.
have.
Is it just random schooling, or are you seeing things like, is it steady all day long? What are we looking at?
So when I've found like these large congregations of bait, then it is steady around those, bait balls. And I think people think that it's got to be like hot or really warm for top water to start, but that started for me when the water got into the upper 40s. 48 degrees is when I started catching them on top water this year.
Mhm.
And it's just, are you in an area with a lot of bait and a lot of fish, or not? I think that those areas where you have these huge congregations of bait and bass, they're not all over. They're in very like select locations. So when I talk about running and gunning and checking 100 places, I literally mean drive until you see it. And once you see it, you'll be amazed at like what you're actually witnessing. Fish blowing up on top, and yeah, you could throw top water absolutely right now.
Yeah, I can tell you, across the street this morning when I took Nathan Skinner some batteries for his trolling motor thing, that they were busting crazy over here on Latham, and that was at like, I don't know, 8:30 this morning, 9 o'clock, somewhere right in there. All right, let's go ahead and do the question of the night, Kevin. And
Okay.
you guys did not answer it correctly last week, so we're going to stick with the hard bait box
That's
that we're
first
going to
time
do.
ever.
It is the first time ever that nobody got it. So we're gonna stick with the hard bait box. And how many answers?
4 answers,
Four answers.
but this
And
was easy.
all
Yeah.
right,
Here's the
okay.
answers right here.
Yeah, I
See?
see them.
Yeah,
Look,
there you go.
paragraphs. All right, go ahead, and guys, listen. If you had a question, of course, you know how it works on the show. We're gonna have to pay attention to the comment section to see who actually wins this, and then we'll jump back into the conversation shortly. So, Kevin, go ahead, bud.
Okay. To celebrate Outdoor Innovation's 10-year anniversary, they released their Diamond Anniversary Series. Who created Outdoor Innovations? What was his occupation? What year was this? And why was it called the Diamond Anniversary Series? I'll read it again for you. To celebrate Outdoor Innovation's 10-year anniversary, they released their Diamond Anniversary Series. Who created Outdoor Innovations? What was his occupation? What year was this? And why was it called the Diamond Anniversary Series?
Jason, do you know the answer?
No, no.
Me neither. Me neither. So
We
while
just broke the internet.
Mhm. So while you guys are trying to answer that, Jason, we're going to go ahead and continue the conversation. If you're throwing top water right now, what is it? What are you throwing?
I think you could really throw whatever top water you like, but probably something a little bit more subtle. So maybe not like a big walking top water. A buzzbait could be good. I haven't thrown it, but from what I've seen, I bet a jackal riser would be really good. Some of these bait balls that are getting blown up on, it's a little bit more subtle, I would say, than like that summertime, top water blowups where you can see from across the lake. So a jackal riser, I bet would be good. I bet like a Spro E-Pop, some popper style would be good too, or even like an old school Zara puppy, maybe something a little bit smaller, a little bit kind of more subtle, would be what I'm throwing. If I'm targeting, spotted bass that are chasing bait. Now, if I'm targeting largemouths, I'm going, buzz bait, something like that in a totally different part of the lake.
Yeah, absolutely. It depends on what your target species is for sure. Now, Ken says red bladed buzzbait companies: Mega Strike, Picasso, Dirty Jigs, Booyah, Hog Snatcher, Boogerman, to name a few. So it's probably more popular than we give it credit. I've never thrown one with the red blade, so I'd be curious if there's a Ken. Is there a good place to actually throw red? Just in your opinion. And he wanted to know, have you had any luck on a buzz bait? Titus wanted to know, like, have you thrown it here recently at all?
So I haven't thrown it, but what I saw at the end of February, if I had one tied on, I think I absolutely could have caught them. But from now until really as long as I want to throw it. I think a buzz bait is probably going to be on my front deck. It's just getting so warm. Maybe if we have this big cold snap that they're talking about, maybe that's not a day like that high pressure day to throw one, but it's time for sure. It's time to take it out.
Yeah, Ron Swinford says my top water right now would be a buzz bait and a popper.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. Now, I just buzz baits in the spring, well, buzz baits year round for sure, are amazing to me. I do know. Let me ask you this: do you throw any glide baits or anything like that? Because I've seen a couple pictures of some big largemouth today from buddies of mine that were caught on big glides / swim baits. Do you mess with those at all?
Yeah, I really do like throwing them. I haven't caught a ton of fish on them, but I would say I'm still addicted to throwing them around. I think that last year I won big fish for one of the ABA tournaments on Lanier. I think it was last year, and it was caught on a glide bait. So I've had some success, but I feel like that's a whole technique that you could just spend your entire life trying to perfect. And I'm not there yet. I just grab one and kind of start tossing around.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Wonk 82, this question come up while we were talking about that. What's y'all's opinions on big glide or swim baits? They catch big fish. There's no doubt about it. They catch big fish. Now, the guys that come on the show that talk about these baits, they're of a different mentality. Like when I go fishing, I want to catch the most. I want to catch fish every cast all day long. And of course, everybody does, but these guys will go for one bite, that one fish. And Tim, you know it. We've had them on here. It's like, Big Bait John, who actually did catch one today that was just a hair under 10 pounds. I promised him I would not tell anybody where he caught it, but it was caught on a big swim bait, that kind of thing. But he'll tell you, unless I'm fishing a tournament, if I'm just fun fishing, one bite. It's a totally different mentality.
And there's so many different sizes too. Like there are, I know the question said big glide or big, swim baits, but there's so many like 4 to 5 inch options now that I think you could kind of fish that way and actually get a lot of bites rather than throwing, a 8-10 inch glide where maybe you are going to get one bite. But one of the most important things with that, I think it really does reveal what's there. That's always a big thing. If you don't get a bite, you'll be amazed at what you see follow that bait. You can learn a lot tossing a glide bait around.
I have learned that by tossing one. I've seen some like submarines come out checking it out, and you're like, wow.
In areas that you're convinced nothing is there. It's like, I can see everything. And you toss it out there, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that, 6-pounder somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of guys will throw like the mag drafts and stuff like that around docks, have one come out, they'll follow it and they'll turn around, but now they know that bass is there, and then they'll go back after it with like a wacky or a Nico or some other thing. So sometimes it is just a show me bait, but there are guys that just commit to it. Jeff Brazil, he goes, speaking my language now, Danny. He loves those big glide baits because he spends so much money on them. He talks about that all the time. And that's another thing about glide baits. They can get really, really expensive if you guys want to drop it. Ron Swinford says, if you can find active fish right now, a super fluke fish like a topwater should work as well. And yes, John G, they are biting topwater. Interesting thing here. Any of you guys done this? Patricia Leanne Shaw. Buzz bait with a small treble hook trailer, no short strikes. And he put 100% guaranteed. Have any of you ever thrown a trailer hook or anything like that on a buzz bait? Because I have not.
No. I've thrown a trailer, but not a treble hook trailer, just those small Gamakatsu, like real tiny trailer hooks. But if I'm getting hung up because of the trailer hook, it's coming off.
Yeah.
I got you like that.
I learned years ago to let them eat it. So instead of, just yanking as soon as they blow up on it, I usually let them have it.
Gotcha. Tyler Shelnut says one of the biggest spots I've ever seen. He missed on a glide on topwater in the Chestatee River years ago. They're gonna show themselves for sure. Benjamin wants to know who the hell is Outdoor Innovations. I've never heard of them. Yeah, and I'm not going to read the rest of it. You guys can read that one.
I read it.
So Benjamin, listen, I don't come up with these questions. That is Kevin and Kevin only. So it's always fun to watch you guys. I don't know the answers, and he won't tell me the answers because I'll cheat and give you guys hints. Um, okay, somebody brought up a whopper plopper. Do you ever throw the whopper plopper or a chopo or any of those style baits?
Yes, a ton.
Oh man,
A ton.
that's
It's
my least
probably
favorite.
the top water I throw the most, if I'm being honest.
Okay, well, what brand do you like?
I have both. I've been throwing the Chapo.
Mhm.
It does make a little bit louder of an action. So in that kind of summer, fall, top water time, I've just, again, confidence. I've got a ton of whopper ploppers. I caught a ton of fish on them. When the Chapo came out, I kind of switched and haven't really gone back. But I really do like that bait for those offshore fish, but also just for like going down the bank, fishing it basically like a buzz bait, fishing it really fast, trying to cover a lot of water.
Now, let me ask you this about colors. Do you think about it on a top water bait like a Chapo? Because pretty much they're all white on the bottom anyway.
So I throw like a bone, white color, and then there's another one that I like that's a little bit more translucent. It's got kind of a brownish back, but it's like kind of clear blue, and really you could look at it and say, yeah, it looks like a thread fin or a blue back. You could even say it looks kind of like a little bluegill too. Those are the two that I like the most, like just a more translucent kind of shad color, and then a more solid white color. Really, if it's cloudy, I'm going with the opaque color. If it's sunny, I'm going with something a little bit lighter. Or if it's really, really windy and there's a lot of chop, maybe I'll go with a wider bone in that case too.
Do you not? One of the reasons why I don't like that. Well, there's several reasons why I don't like that bait, but when I did throw it, I had a hard time staying hooked up. So let me ask you this: what's your setup? What are you throwing it on? Are you throwing it on straight fluoro? You throwing it on braid? What's your setup?
So here's my setup, and I forgot that I do something different on this because I never had an issue with hookups, but I had an issue with line twist. So
Bad.
what I did, and I've done this for so long, I've actually forgot I've done it. So I go like 7.3, 7.4, medium heavy, not quite a crankbait rod, but maybe a little bit of a softer, just regular kind of fast action rod. I go braid, and I'm usually throwing 50-pound braid, and then I go to a super, super tiny Spro power swivel
Right.
and tie the braid to the power swivel. Then I tie a 20-pound mono leader to the bait, and the leader is just long enough to where I'm not pulling that swivel through my guides. So I don't have it go through the guides. I take it a step farther and put another slightly larger swivel on the nose of my Chapo. And it has to be a little bit bigger to fit around the split ring.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got two swivels, and since doing it that way, one, I don't have to worry about a bad connecting knot. Not that I've ever had issues with mine, but anytime I've got two lines hugging each other, holding together, I just would rather have it a different way. So tying directly to a swivel with 50-pound braid, 20-pound mono leader to another swivel that's on the split ring. And that's my go-to setup. And I have not had one issue with either hookup or line twist.
Now, boys, that's interesting. That's the first time we've had anybody when we talk Chapo, Whopper, Plopper, whatever that we've talked about line twist / eliminating it with not one,
Yeah,
but
if you don't
two.
put a swivel on the front of one of those, it will absolutely just crank your line
Yeah, but
round and round.
not one, but two swivels.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I'm quite positive that it will work. That's very interesting. Very interesting like that.
I've had no issues with it pulling the nose of the bait down. I'm fishing it so fast. Neither swivel really has any time to sink. It all works perfectly fine. And I have caught really big spotted bass, both on Carter's and Allatoona on that setup. So I've put it through the paces. I've tested it out. I've had no issue at all.
Now, I noticed you said a Spro swivel.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of give me a little bit of a reason why you use a Spro swivel and what differentiates that from an Eagle Claw or something like that.
So when I look at a package of swivels, I want to be able to see the pound test rating on there. And the Spro power swivel, it's really, really tiny. I don't want a giant, obnoxious swivel that's going to somehow impede the action of the bait. If I start getting pine straw and leaves and things hung up on that swivel, it just gets irritating. So, Spro's not a sponsor of mine. I just like the Spro gear. I've been using it forever. I've had a relationship with Spro back when I was in the college fishing days. They helped the UGA fishing team. So I just have used their stuff for a long time, and I've got confidence in it. I've had other swivels and other terminal tackle that have failed. And that's just not something I even want to mess with. So one of those things where it's worked, I have no reason to change it, and I don't have any plans to change it. That power swivel is really, really tiny, and I could still get like a 50-pound rated small swivel.
I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Titus Williams says black's the only color you need. I feel that way with buzz baits. There's two color buzz baits, white or black, and a lot of guys disagree with that, but I think you can fish black buzz baits in the middle of the day if you really want to. What hooks are you guys running in your flukes? You guys can answer that one.
I've got a very unique hook that I've used on my flukes that I haven't seen anyone else use. I am blanking on the name of it, but it is a Gamakatsu hook. It is a 4/0, and this particular hook has a swivel built into the front of the hook. I think it's called the Hydrol. I'm pretty sure it's the Hydrol. And the way I can rig the fluke, it covers up like 90% of the swivels. You don't actually see it. It doesn't look goofy, but it is just big. The hook is just wide enough of a gap to where I get a good hookup ratio. That little extra weight in the front helps keep my fluke down. I can rig it weightless, and I eliminate line twist all in one. So that Gamakatsu, I'm 99% sure it's called the Hydrol. And it only comes in like two sizes, 4/0, 5/0. And I think I go with just the 4/0. That is my go-to super fluke hook.
Okay, I like it. What about you guys?
I usually run just a regular 4/0.
I use a TK 130 size 3 EWG.
Very specific. I love that.
Like that.
I liked it. You were ready for that answer.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got to do this because apparently this is what we have to ask every guest again on this show. What's your thoughts on Bigfoot?
Man, I feel like if Bigfoot was real, we would have known it by now. But
didn't we talk about that on Tuesday?
We talked about it on Thursday with Matt Stephan because he had an encounter that he's not sure about.
Yeah, it seems like everybody wants to know about Bigfoot. Trace, okay, so some guys are still trying to answer your question. What outdoor innovations are you asking about? The bow fishing guy? And I don't know. How about this? Ask him about the spy bait. Do you throw the spy bait in on Allatoona or Carter's?
Yes, a ton. Oh, in the summertime, like when they are schooling and like on Allatoona especially, they will be schooling all over and won't eat anything. Excuse me, but they will eat a spy bait. So I'm very big on a spy bait. I try to go on the smaller side. You can cast them really far too.
Mm-hmm.
And excuse me, that's one of my favorite baits to throw.
Okay, for sure. Jerry, Danny, with all these tips, are you now going to throw the whopper plopper? Hell no. I'm sticking to my guns, man. I'm going with the buzz bait. I will ask you this though. The last fish I caught on a Chapo, and I have thrown it a time or two. That just shows you how damn desperate I was. But I threw the thing out there, and instead of just reeling it over these brush piles, because we were on Lanier, trying to call them up, my cousin was throwing a walking bait, and I just threw the Chapo. But I got really mad because I did have one blow up on it again, missed the hookup. But then I just got mad, hummed it out there, and I just started ripping it. And I would like rip it real quick, reel in my slack, rip it real quick, reel in my slack. And I did catch, it was about a 4.5 pound spot. Do you ever do anything like that, or you just straight reel it? Are there any specialty in your retrieves that you might use with the whopper plopper or Chapo?
So I try to speed it up a good bit, slow it down, but I'm not ripping it like that. I wonder if you were ripping it and on the pause, did that fish eat it to where you didn't have time to rip it out of its mouth? I think if you're missing fish on a choppo, it's probably because you're reacting with your eyes. One of the reasons I like a little bit of a softer rod is because all I do is keep reeling. And with the softer rod plus braid, I don't have to set the hook. I just grind and they load up. And then once I feel them load up, I can kind of lean into them a little bit.
No, I promise you, I probably have jerked it out of their mouth plenty of times. I know guys talk about turning their heads, and waiting, letting the rod load up. I want to see that strike. And then of course I'm the average dude. Like, I mean, it excites me. So I'm setting the hook. I probably do.
It took me a long time to learn to let them eat it on anything on top water, so I let them have it.
It's hard. What are you eating, Tim?
Peanuts.
Oh, we need to pick. Yeah, I really would like some right now. Dave Aldridge says an 80-pound Spro swivel is awesome. Okay. DW Boat 8 says I use a power swivel. That power swivel on my rooster tails, it helps a lot.
Yep.
Let's see. Did you go to Georgia, Jason?
I did.
Okay. When did you graduate?
2010.
Okay, so there you go. Class of 22 there, Koike God, Coleman there. So for sure like that. Ron Swinford said he uses a 4-aught, is a Hayabusa EWG on a fluke, then a big swivel on an 18-inch leader of 15-pound fluoro to mostly 12-pound fluoro mainline. Everybody's got their own setups like that. Let me ask you, how did you come up with the oh, okay. Sorry about that. I had a text come in. How did you come up with the dual swivel on the choppo? Just trial and error?
I just remember, like, I never had an issue with line twist, just casting it around. But when I would catch a fish, I would get it in the net, get the fish unhooked, and then my line would just be twisted beyond belief.
And just sit there and dangle.
So I got to the point where it was like, all right, the line twist hasn't caused an issue yet, but it's apparent that it is an issue. So if I'm tying a leader and I'm going braid to a leader anyway, why not just use a swivel instead? And I kind of took what I do when I go surf fishing. I go surf fishing at least once a year, and the big surf rods, I've got braid. I put a swivel and 30, 40 pound fluoro. In that case, I'm like, I'm just going to kind of shrink that down a bit. I'm going to take a smaller swivel and match what I do for making really long casts in the surf. I'm going to take that same setup and just apply it to my bait casting setup.
Okay, I got you. Now, John G says, I throw a Choppo 110 several hours a day, and he does because he's always fishing on the Oconee River during the summer. I've never had a problem with losing a fish. I just use 39-pound braid. And you're better than me, John. I suck, so that's it. But I'm sure I probably set the hook too much. Jerry says, is that the Gamakatsu Worm 34R hydro hook?
I'm pretty sure that's it. And I've never seen anyone with a pack of those before. They are fantastic.
Yeah, he says it's an outstanding hook.
I'm not sure what it's designed for, but it's perfect for a Zoom Super Fluke. I'm sure the guys at Spro had some bait or thing in mind when they designed it. I don't know what it is, but it's fantastic for a Super Fluke. Definitely give it a try, or at least look at it if you haven't yet.
Okay, good. I like that. I use a core tackle scamper hook for my fluke, says Eric, like that. And there were several guys throwing out in the comment sections their hook of choice and everything. But DW Boat 8 wants to know, has anyone used the core wacky hook? I have not. Have any of you guys tried it yet?
Is that the one with the screen lock on the back?
I think so. I have not. I'm very simple on my wacky. I just use a 1-aught, 2-aught, or a number 1, number 2, depending on what I'm fishing. Just a drop shot hook. I don't get too fancy with that, and I don't use O-rings unless I'm bombing it. Let's see. Try to get to hell with Georgia. James Ramsey said so. I guess somebody's not a Georgia fan in the comment section. Yeah, it's all right. That's it. Tim, did you go fishing today? You're looking a little red in the face, says John.
That was Sunday. Took the wife and the kids and the boat out in the creek for a little while. That's basically what I got. I caught a suntan.
I got you. Okay, Tracy Coker. Where in the hell does Kevin come up with these questions?
He's good, isn't he? You got to give him credit. Nobody's even came close.
No, no, I'm not even one
Can
amp.
they AI? Can they AI this one?
Yes, yes, they can.
I'm disappointed in our fans now. They're not even AIing it anymore.
Alex is the only one that knows the answer, so he says.
And he
I
can't
bet he
win it.
does.
Yeah,
And
and he can't play.
he can't play and all that. All right. I don't even know where to go with after that. The swivel thing is on my mind. The fact that line twist and all that guy. Wonk 82 said, ban the guy that said to hell with Georgia right there. Okay, well I ain't banning nobody. This is a free, safe place for everybody, right? Um,
Yeah.
do you use a swivel on any of your other things? So far on a whopper plopper, on a fluke, anything else?
So I don't think so. For my top waters, wake baits, those I have the swivel set up because I'm throwing them on bait casting gear and I'm not casting what would be the knot, but ends up being the swivel. I'm not casting it through the guides intentionally. That fluke is kind of its own little thing because the swivel is like part of the hook and it's all integrated. But for my spinning rod setups, I am tying, like an Albright knot and connecting it that way. So I don't think there's anything else I'm currently using braid to a swivel to a leader for, although I have had plans to try it for my jigging spoon as well. I haven't done it, but I intended to do it for that as well.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. Now, King of Bass wants to know, why has fishing been so pathetic on Allatoona these past 2 weeks?
So my experience with that is that there's a lot of areas of Altoona, there's just not a lot going on. And then there's a lot going on in a few areas. So I think that really this time of year, you have to be in a mindset of let's cover as much water as we can rather than let's keep changing baits and changing colors. I spent this past Thursday, I think it was the day that it rained a ton. I spent the whole day out there, and at 11 o'clock, I had one fish in the boat and then just kept moving, kept moving, kept moving. And at lunchtime, I just ran into the mother lode and I sat there for 4 hours and caught fish, almost cast after cast, and not just little ones. I think I ended up with just shy of 14 pounds in my best 5 spots. And I could have caught them on just about whatever I wanted. I found like that magic. So there's a lot going on in very select areas. So if you feel like, hey, the fishing just stinks right now, you're likely not in the right area. And shoot, I was in those wrong areas for my first half of the day, and I kept trying, kept moving. Then eventually I found the big congregation, and I just tell myself, this is the time of year they're feeding up, getting ready for spawn. So don't slow down, like speed up, and then speed up more until I run into them.
Well, let me ask you this question. Instead of telling us where you found the fish, give us some examples of places like you didn't, where there's certain areas like flats that we're not holding fish currently, or you get what I'm saying? Like, what didn't work?
Yeah. So I fished a bunch on the main lake, and I went out trying to throw a crankbait. That was just what I was going to do that day. So I was hoping to put together some footage of speed cranking and throwing a crankbait, and it just wasn't panning out. So I ended up checking a handful of kind of coves and pockets that I've had success in the past. And I checked like 7 or 8 of them. And when I say check them, like I pull in, I scan, am I seeing bait? And if no, then I leave. So I'm not fishing through them. I'm in and I'm out. I checked 7 or 8, didn't find anything. And then just the 9th one I checked, like it was bait from the top all the way to the bottom. So, it's not even a depth thing. Like it was, 25 feet deep. There was bait literally from the top all the way to the bottom. And there were bass that had found them. And, I could have caught them on top water. I caught them on bottom baits. It didn't matter. You could have caught them on anything at that point. And that's what I look for this time of year.
What style of crankbait were you slinging?
So I was throwing it's the Spro. What is it called? The Essentials? Is that their more affordable one? It was a cellmate colored. I don't know the name of it. It was like a 10 to 12 foot diving crankbait, maybe.
That cellmate color is awesome.
That's one of my favorites. That's one of my favorite colors.
It's
Yep.
legit, and it's not red. He was not
No,
throwing.
it's not
He was
red
not
by
throwing.
any way,
He
form, or
was not
fashion.
throwing. But you were saying, but when you found that place, you caught some on that crankbait, or you were not catching them on the crankbait.
No, at that point, so I could have caught them on the crankbait. I
Okay.
firmly believe. But if I find them blowing up on bait and, in that feeding frenzy, I immediately change my mindset to I want to catch them on the most efficient lure possible. So I could have thrown a top water, but in my opinion, a small swim bait, even if it's like a finesse swim bait or a mega bass like Okashira jig head, just something with a single hook that is really, really sharp. I know if I get a bite, there's a 9 out of 10 chance I'm hooking them. They're not coming off, and I can unhook them quickly, get them back in the water or the live well, and bomb out another cast. I'm not having to untangle nets. I'm not getting trebles in my fingers. So if I find them in that feeding frenzy, I'm abandoning my treble hooks and I'm going to a single swim bait, usually on a spinning rod with braid, fluoro, because it is way more efficient for me. I can make more casts, get more bites, release more fish, and then make more casts.
You know what? I like that answer.
Solid plan.
It is a solid plan, and I like the fact that what you're talking about the logistics pretty much of hitting the frenzy and trying to get as many fish in the boat in the easiest, shortest amount of time possible. And treble hooks do. Granted, they catch fish, but they do become a pain in the butt during those times right there. So I like that answer. Let me ask you this, because I've noticed this when you host this show and you're paying attention, you kind of notice patterns. We very rarely talk about a shaky head anymore. We're either talking about a Nico or wacky, a dice bait or anything, but we all know the shaky head still works. Do you still throw it? And if you do, give us some of your worm companies that you like to use.
Sure. So yeah, I absolutely throw a shaky head. April is my favorite month to throw a shaky head. It's the time of year where you could just put the trolling motor down, find the nearest bank, and just start tossing a worm around. On Lanier, I've had good success, throwing the shaky head around docks. Like that's a well-known bite. So I definitely throw it. There's a handful of worms I've thrown over the years, really like all the Zoom worms. There's a local tackle company out of Canton called Rutherford Tackle. They've got a really good shaky head worm. He started off making crappie baits and is kind of transitioning into some bass stuff. But he's got a great like green pumpkin orange worm, which I thought was a little bit kind of unique. But again, throw something you've got confidence in. This time of year, as we're getting closer and closer to the spawn, like I'm throwing a lighter shaky head, I'll usually go down to like an 1/8 ounce. Whereas maybe in February, or if I'm fishing a little bit deeper, maybe in the summer, I'm going to like 3/16. But rarely do I go heavier than 3/16 on a shaky head. Maybe at Carter's I'd go quarter, but that would be an extreme case.
Gotcha. Now I've seen a couple of different answers. We're still not. I mean, I don't know the answer. So I'll just say, okay, all right, there you go. So Kay, you ain't got it yet. Now cranking and yanking, he's our buddy from Louisiana. And where was it at? Let me pull that comment up.
How much longer are you gonna let this run, Danny?
Well, hell, I mean, I'll give it another 3 minutes. We'll give him 3 minutes. Y'all talk about all kinds of baits we do not use in Louisiana. They don't use a shaky head, a Nico, or a Ned. He's never used any of them. Cranking, yanking, you're right. But I think we're fishing two totally different bodies of water for sure.
I don't know why they wouldn't use the shaky head. You could use it in them swamps.
You could. I bet he's a Texas rig guy and a wacky worm guy.
Probably.
You throw the Texas rig any?
I haven't thrown it on Allatoona or Carter's in a while. I mean, if I go to Gunnersville, yeah, I've got it tied on or fish a pond. I mean, I pretty much throw anything I can if the situation calls for it. Usually on rocky lakes, I've got something else, Nico or shaky head.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Okay. We're going to do this. I'm going to let Kevin read the question one more time, and I'm going to let it go for 5 minutes. And then after 5 minutes, we'll pull it and give you the right answer. So go ahead and ask the question again, Kevin.
Yeah. I'm going to show them the answer.
To celebrate Outdoor Innovation's 10-year anniversary, they released their Diamond Anniversary Series. Who created Outdoor Innovations? What was his occupation? What year was this? And why was it called the Diamond Anniversary Series?
So there you go. You got 5 minutes.
And it has nothing to do with construction.
Okay, nothing to do with construction. There's your hint, guys. There's your hint. What was the name of that company that you said, Rutherford?
Rutherford Tackle, yep, out of Canton.
Tim, wasn't that the young guy that was at the Noe event?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, I remember. Yeah.
He's a really cool dude, and I just like working with companies that have cool people that are nice. And so Connor's real cool.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, we talked to him, didn't we?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty. I like it when one of the things you can get from a very local guy is some unique colors and things like that you can't get from some of the other ones. The Carolina rig popped up in the comment section. We used to Carolina rig on Allatoona with a green pumpkin lizard, and that's what everybody's told me to use on Allatoona anytime you pull a Carolina rig. And it's about this time of year, it seems like people are starting to throw that Carolina rig on the flats, like the spawning flats. Am I wrong in that, Kevin or Jason? Any of you guys?
No, you're right, but I use it more in the summertime.
In the summertime. What's your
now through summer is great. And I guess that is another rig that you could use the braid. And I think I use the braid to a swivel, and I use the swivel as a thing that stops the weight. And if you depending on how you rig it, like the weight can actually go straight over the knot, so it's not even rubbing up against your knot. But yeah, Carolina rig can be really good. And I guess you could do 4-inch, but 4, 5, 6-inch green pumpkin lizard, you can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, everybody anytime Allatoona comes up, there's always somebody that's going to say a Carolina rig with a zoom lizard, and it's always green pumpkin or watermelon red.
Mm-hmm.
Always those colors right there. Now, Kevin, let me ask you, why do you throw it more in the summertime and not now?
I can just cover water with it, and I feel like it's a good confidence bait for working flats.
Okay, so Ron Swinford agrees with you. Yeah, I use braid to swivel on a C rig most of the times. Let me ask you something, Jason. Give me, what is your most confident bait? Like if you're going out tomorrow, you're going to guarantee yourself you can catch fish. What's your most confident bait?
I mean, if I had to pick one bait for any time of year, I'd probably pick like a 1/4 ounce jig head and like a 2 or 3-inch, minnow, either Kitex, something like that. But if I'm going out tomorrow and I have got to get a bite, like I'd probably say I'm with clients and like I need to get bites for them. I'm putting a drop shot in their hand. For sure.
That's another thing we ain't talked about tonight. It's a drop shot. It just seems like the shaky head and the drop shot, we know people still throw them, but we do not talk about them near as much on this show as we have in past years.
I throw a drop shot a lot, and for clients, it's one of my favorite things to throw because I have confidence that they will get bit in it. And if you're getting hung, I'd rather be replacing drop shot weights than like retying leaders and things. And my drop shot is one of the last few techniques that I still go straight fluoro on for that particular reason, especially with clients. If I got to retie the whole thing, no problem. I only got to retie that, not a leader knot and another knot. So the drop shot, if I'm just trying to get bites or get folks to get bites, I'm putting a drop shot with like a small, robo worm, 4.5 inch, or you could throw the 6-inch too, but sometimes they'll bite the tail off. So usually 4.5 is what I throw.
Let me ask you this question. And I could be completely wrong about this, but I notice when people throw shaky heads or Nikos, we throw a lot of green pumpkin, bland colors. When we throw drop shots, we're throwing the morning dawns and similar colors like that. Why the differentiation between the two? Why are we doing it on one and not the same on the both? You get what I'm saying? Like if you see somebody with a drop shot, there are guys that will throw a green pumpkin worm and stuff on a drop shot, but a lot of them go with those pinks and purples and stuff. But you don't see them throwing that on shaky heads as much. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with like what was the first thing that like when someone heard about the drop shot the first time, when or why do they hear about it? And I think back to that tournament on Lanier. I can't remember the kid's name who won it at the time, but he was throwing a fish head spin. He was throwing a morning dawn drop shot. And when the morning dawn drop shot like won a huge, I think it was maybe an FLW tournament. This was probably 10 or 15 years ago at this point. Morning dawn, I think, was what people just associated with a drop shot. And I think that just carries over, maybe even subconsciously, where people think, hey, I'm going to throw a drop shot. Let me go grab one of the 80 packs of Morning Dawn I bought, because the big tournament was won on it. Way
monkey
back
see,
then.
monkey do kind of thing.
But you get what I'm saying? Like, seriously, like you very rarely, if ever, see anybody throwing a Morning Dawn shaky head.
Right. And I guess you could argue, like, drop shot, because it's up off the bottom. Maybe it's more bait fish imitating. Shaky head could be more something else on the bottom. But I throw a lot of Morning Dawn, but I also throw a lot of green pumpkin, like the Zoom Z drop worms. I like, greeny weenie and green pumpkin, and I'll throw those as well. I haven't thrown a Morning Dawn shaky head, but I just don't own a bunch. So if I did, I bet you go out in April and catch them just the same on it.
You probably could. It's just something that I've noticed we don't do. We just do not do that. Now, Jerry says pros use the drop shot very often, and that is very true, especially if you talk to them a little bit behind the scenes, because, again, they don't always give everything up, but all of them pretty much have a drop shot tied on of some form, even if it's throwing the dice on it or something. They're all utilizing the drop shot.
It's one of the most versatile rigs out there. I mean, you could put a little tiny hook, you could throw a EWG, you could put a flipping hook on there. I mean, you could throw it on a bait caster. You could do a lot of things with the drop shot. It's really versatile.
It really is. All right, Kevin.
What?
Nobody got it, huh?
No, Randy Callahan is the closest.
Randy Callahan's very close with a few of his sporadic comments, by the way. They're kind of scattered, but
All right, I'll get to that cranking and yanking here in a second. So, you know what? Randy's always on the show. He's a very, very avid, avid viewer of ours. So I'm gonna give it to Randy.
I think that's fair enough.
You want me to read the answers?
I do want you to read the answer so we can finally have some closure to this.
All right. The first question was, what was his occupation? Who created Outdoor Innovations? That was Dr. Ben Johnson. He was the first one to come up with titanium wire. What was his occupation? He was a dentist. What year was this? It was 2007, which celebrated their 10 years of this spinnerbait, the titanium spinnerbait. The Diamond Anniversary Series was, he created 10 spinnerbaits that had real diamonds in the eyes and put them out there in the general public. And back in 2007, they were $1,000 each valued of those spinnerbaits. Those are the four answers. And Randy's the closest.
Right then, Fish Atlanta came in there. Dr. Ben Johnson, 1997 lures had 10 diamonds. Hey, I appreciate it, Fish Atlanta, but I'm going to give it to Randy Callahan just because, you know what? I like him and it's my show.
And that could be AI too.
We'll do that. Here's an interesting question, Jason, and I want all of you guys to answer this. What makes a pro a pro?
So my simple answer is, are you doing it as your career? I think anyone could call themselves a pro. I don't consider myself a pro in terms of like, oh, I'm just the best and most knowledgeable. But if I'm making money, taking people on fishing trips, then I am doing it professionally. Therefore, I am a pro.
Right. You're differentiating the difference, though, between being a guide / and then like a tournament angler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tim, what's your answer to that?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I was typing an answer to somebody in the comments. What was the question?
What's your opinion? What makes a pro a pro?
Somebody that's actually running it like a business, doing it for a living.
Okay.
I mean, that's their job.
Now, do you differentiate it like Jason did between like a guide is a pro?
A guide is a pro. Well, yeah, I guess you consider a guide a pro fisherman because that's
I would consider a guide a coach, not a pro.
Mm-hmm.
A coach? Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, I don't think there's really a wrong answer.
No.
Well, if you're going to line up pros with the other sports that are out there, there's a league that you work up through. You just don't go from high school to pro baseball
Mhm.
or
Mhm.
high school to pro football. You work up through the ranks and get drafted.
Right. And
So it's based on
once
your
that's your
play.
job all year long, I mean, I guess that's your profession. So you are pro.
Yeah, I can get it. I see it both ways. I mean, somebody asked me that question, I would say somebody, and you have to think all the professional anglers out there, really, they're all an LLC or they've incorporated themselves
Mhm.
that name that they do that for business purposes. They're fishing. That's to me like when I think of what a pro angler is, I'm thinking of a Bassmaster Elites, MLF,
Right.
that top thing.
Mhm.
But I do see where you could put the guides and stuff in it. But I also agree with you; they are coaches as well. Um, Kevin, how many of those diamond spinner baits do you have?
I don't have any.
You don't have any?
I checked. I don't have any.
You don't have any out there. All right. Hey, speaking of spinner baits, we're getting a little late on into the end of the show. Uh, do you utilize spinner baits at all this time of year, Jason? And if so, where and what are you throwing?
Yeah, so I like, your kind of double willow, or maybe, some version of a, Colorado willow blade if I'm covering water, fishing for shad type, a pattern. But I really like a single Colorado blade spinnerbait for targeting largemouth in these shallow pockets and around laydowns. That is just something that I really enjoy doing. Some days are better than others, but you've got spinner baits that you can use for spotted bass, and then that big single Colorado blade spinner bait is what I catch more of my better largemouth on Allatoona.
Do you run like a stinger hook off on those? You mentioned it on the buzz bait, but do you do that on
Yeah,
your spinner bait as well?
yep. As long as I'm not getting hung up. That if I'm getting hung up, then I'm taking it off, or maybe even considering going to a swim jig or something else. But yes, I run a stinger hook, and I try to keep it as small as I can.
How about this? Now, I always like to learn on this show, but I also like to pick up little sayings and things like that. Tony Watkins, my AI is smoking like a milkman with a pregnant neighbor. Have you guys ever heard anything said like that at all? I was reading that. I'm like, and Tony, I'm sorry I missed your call earlier today. I got tied up in something. I'll call you tomorrow. Um, and at DW Boat, he says, shoot, I have all kinds of pro. He's a pro eater, pro snorer, etc. For sure. 100%. Wonk A2 says, thanks for the show tonight, fellas. I learned a lot. Thank you for joining us. Patricia Leanne says, a pro is somebody who makes a living fishing and has sponsors. Okay. I mean, you definitely can equate it to that.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna make this the last question of the night because we all have jobs. You guys have jobs. I don't have a job, but I know you guys got to get into bed. We're way up past Kevin's bedtime anyway, and I'm
Oh,
just
shoot.
I'm kidding, Kevin. I'm kidding.
Not midnight, 1 o'clock.
I know you are. What 5 baits would you start with Saturday morning on Allatoona,
Ooh.
fishing specifically for largemouth?
So I'm not even sure you need five, but if I had to pick five, I would go with some chatterbait style bait, a square bill, a little bit of a maybe 4 to 8 foot diving crankbait, my big spinnerbait, single Colorado spinnerbait, and then something to flip with, either like a 3/8 half ounce jig, or maybe like a Jika rig or something that I could fish some laydowns with. But I would try to cover as much water as I can. And then if I see just like a perfect laydown that has a couple feet of water on it, flip real quick and then just keep moving.
I'm telling you guys, one thing to keep in mind, just based upon pictures people are sending me and talking, you can catch some fish dirt shallow right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's still some deep, and not all the big girls have moved up or nothing. I'm saying they're on bed or anything like that, but a lot of guys are catching some good bass dirt shallow. Uh, Tim, what do we call us? What is that?
Oh, the joke I always tell when people are like, "What kind of fisherman are you?" I said, we're semi-amateur anglers,"
Semi. Yeah, that's right.
and
But
just walk off. It leaves them scratching their head because they don't
yeah,
know what to do with it.
they do. But Randy Callahan, I'm exactly the same way as you. I am a pro donator. If I'm in a tournament, I'm donating 100%.
Absolutely.
And
A
Jerry,
big bucket.
Yeah, I appreciate listen, the rant on the lunch break today. I appreciate it. It's just sometimes you got to call things out and say it like you see it sometimes. So
That was good, Rand.
I don't do it often, but I don't know, just sometimes it's like that.
It
So
needed
anyway,
to be said.
well, it did, but you know me, I always feel bad after I go on a rant, but still like that. So anyway, Jason, hey, listen, look, buddy, I appreciate number one you jumping on again short notice.
Sure.
Coming here asking everybody's questions. If somebody wanted to book a trip with you or learn more about the fish school, how would they find you, get in contact with you, etc.?
Yeah, just go to thefishschool.com, all my links to social media and, how to get in touch with me via phone, email. It's all there. So www.thefishschool.com. You can follow me on Facebook at The Fish School and then Instagram at _fish school as well.
Gotcha. I appreciate doing that. Now, before I let everybody go, Tim, you know what's happening to me on Monday?
What?
The old colonoscopy.
Dude, that's the best sleep you're gonna get. You're gonna be
It
so
is.
refreshed.
Yeah, like I don't think the idea of having a colonoscopy is very
And if you
refreshing.
can drink that whole gallon of G juice,
Oh,
Just don't look
I
at the
can't do
tubes
it.
on
Every
the
time I've
wall.
ever had one, there's like that much left. I can't do it. It's too
What
thick.
what did you say, Kevin?
Just don't look at those tubes on the wall because they're about 6 feet long.
Yeah,
I told everybody the only thing I'm worried about is I don't want to hear the doctor go, that one ain't easy. I don't want to hear
right.
nothing
No,
like
you
that.
won't. Yeah, make nice with the anesthesiologist. I did, and dude come over there and he goes, "You ready to ride?" And I was like, "Hit me, man!" And next thing you know, I woke up later. So it's great.
I'm gonna wake up walking cross-legged or something. Anyway, Jason, thanks for joining us tonight, man. It's a good
of
time.
course.
I appreciate that. And again, like I told you, maybe we circle back to you here, maybe right before the summertime, kind of get some more info on what tuna's doing and everything. If you don't mind us doing that,
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely.
absolutely. So I appreciate that, Tim, Kevin. Uh, I'm not drinking no kefir before that. We got to clear it all out. But Tim and Kevin, I appreciate you jumping on again tonight as well, as always. And people, listen, hey, the show's always about you guys. So anytime I turn this thing on, I hit go live, and I see you guys show up. You have no idea what it means to us here. You guys are like family. So this weekend, when you're out on the water, first of all, check your local news meteorologist for the weather. Make sure you're safe. That's what Jason said. Be safe out there, and enjoy the time you get out there on the water, the woods, or in the yard, whatever it is, because we want to see you guys next week. And maybe
Absolutely.
I'll have a smile on my face when I do the lunch break on Tuesday. Now we have Tony's show Monday night and everything. So, guys, thank you very much. You guys enjoy your weekend. Oh, that's right. We're changing the clock. What are we doing? We spring forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to do that spring forward and all that. I wish one day they just fix that to where we don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
And but it is what it is. So thank you, Patricia Leanne Shaw, for that reminder. But you guys take care.